everyone, and welcome to the C3 podcast. Dr. Lisa Piper here with Wendy Cohn-Osborne. We are the founders of Code Health, and we have a very special guest that we're bringing in today. His name is Lincoln Jesser. He is doing some incredible things that caught our eye on Instagram, actually. And Lincoln, I'd love to hear more about what you're doing with the uniqueness of bridging religion with solfeggio frequencies, with mantra and ecstatic dance, and this whole healing house thing that you're doing. Can tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, it's great to be with you guys again. Thank you for having me and connecting with me in this way and amplifying these practices that I believe in so much to the greater world. Healing house, it's a fusion of a bunch of different concepts that have been practiced by cultures and religions and people since the beginning of time, since the beginning of humankind, really, which it really starts with the principle of vibration. Nada Brahman means God is sound, everything is sound in the Hindu tradition. In the beginning was the word, Om, the Big Bang. All of these things point to the fact that our reality started with a fundamental source vibration, and everything kind of stems from that. And in my own personal life, I've been a mindfulness practitioner, meditator, Vipassana meditator for over a decade. And I've been a musician my entire life. So I always kind of intuitively understood that sound has this ability to kind of connect people and uplift people and make them transcend the mundane reality in this way that's kind of like beyond the rational mind. And I was always so fascinated by that. And in the last couple of years, I more deeply connected with and started exploring sound healing. And it turns out that when you anchor your awareness to vibration, especially intentional vibration, different frequencies of vibration have specific qualities to them. There's not one size fits all. We're all unique vibratory beings, and different frequencies do different things. I don't believe in coincidence, but it's beyond what you would be able to call coincidence. Just based on the research and anecdotal evidence, it's like there's very powerful things happening across the board when you apply certain frequencies in certain ways. And so as I started exploring that, and I linked up with my mentor, Jonathan Goldman, who's an absolute legend in the field of sound healing. And, he wrote a book in the 90s called Healing Sounds that pretty much brought principles of Tibetan and Hindu sound healing practices, which he studied under Tibetan chant masters for 15 years. He combined that with science, and he wrote books that, created this interdisciplinary field. And when I read that, it just completely blew my mind and opened my eyes to the way that all these things connect, and being informed by the world of house music, which house music is already an extremely healing genre of music for people and was created to uplift communities that maybe didn't get as much of a comfortable place in society, disenfranchised people or people going through a lot of trauma in their life and needing to release. Combining those two things all of a sudden just made perfect sense to me because I was doing it every day for myself and it was helping so much. And so Healing House really is just an exploration and a celebration of those practices about, realizing that the kingdom of heaven is within, and, making of yourself a light and realizing that we all have that eternal flame within. And when we strip back the layers and, consistently practice anchoring to the mind and the breath and the body, you kind of just shed the rest and you naturally start raising your vibration, which is what it's all about.
It's incredible. You talk about something resonating with you. I was on Instagram and somehow you came through my feed, and the sounds that were coming off of what I was listening to literally made me stop in my tracks. And I started listening to it, and it was only a minute or so long, and I listened to it again. And I did it about 3 or 4 times, and there was a message within the music that was playing. And I thought to myself, I have got to find out about this guy. Who is this Lincoln? And we connected with each other, sent you out a message, and you messaged me right back, and we just started talking. And it is just incredible. I said it to you when I met you. You're about the same age as my children. And so I have this like motherly connection with you. But at such a young age, you are doing something that is so monumental. And so, what do you think that pivotal moment in your life was that sparked you on this sound healing journey specifically?
They talk about the wounded healer archetype and the path of the healer. And it's unfortunate, but it takes kind of going to low places and realizing that you need to save yourself ultimately. It felt like my entire life led up to it because I was always very interested in spirituality and religion. And I was always a pretty academic person in school. Like I loved learning, and my parents are both healers and academics. My dad was an ER doctor for 20 years, emergency room, and my mom is a psychologist, therapist. So I think I always had that ethos in my mind of like wanting to help people. And then I also had this musical side of me. I was in bands and stuff growing up. And the music industry is tough. I've been blessed to have a full-time career in music for over a decade, doing different, music for commercials, my own projects, producing for other artists. But there's a lot of stress. And, when people think about the mainstream music industry, a lot of times they do think about ego. They think about lower vibrational stuff. I don't think about it that way. But at the same time, the industry does have its ups and downs. And so I got to a point in my own career where I was, I still loved music just as deeply, but I was getting to a point of like, I was kind of more in the conventional house music DJ world and kind of trying to amplify the success by kind of glorifying the ego, really, without thinking about it in those terms. I don't feel like I had a full connection to the larger plot of, what music is really here to do. And music has always been here as a cosmic unifying force of humanity. And, in our earliest days, we sat around a fire and beat a drum and danced around. And like, that's literally all we needed to be happy and to heal from whatever we were going through and to connect with divinity, source, whatever you want to call it, God, the quantum field. I was getting to this point, and I had a really rough relationship that caused me some trauma. And I kind of got to that dark night of the soul moment where I was like questioning everything about myself. Do I want to continue to do music as a career? Can this even affect people in the way I think anymore? Social media is so crazy and people are being inundated with information, and a lot of the content and art is like beautiful and so well done, but I would be like doom scrolling as people do, mostly they do that to numb out and avoid kind of sitting with themselves. And I was looking for inspiration and I was seeing all this great art, but none of it was actually like speaking to my soul. And, I was in a low place, and it was a double-edged sword because I also it made me understand and appreciate the power of my mind. But you have to treat that with a lot of humility because the mind can lift you up, but it can also bring you really far down if you're not careful. You got to connect with the person behind the thoughts in order to, get a grip on it and kind of steer the ship. And so I got to a point where I was like, I really need to get curious about what is happening on a granular level, in my physiological, emotional, spiritual chemistry that's going to allow me to come out of this place and go to the high places and connect to my higher self like I know I can. And so I just went back to the really foundational basics and, got in touch with my body and, through exercise, through more movement-based meditation and mindfulness practices. And what I found was like the most powerful thing was humming, humming while meditating. It taps you into your breath and allows you to just kind of synchronize your breath and be more in control of the ins and outs. And it's also creating a physical vibratory bridge between your intention, your body, and your thoughts, the causal plane, the astral realm, whatever you want to call it. And I just found that sitting in meditation and humming was doing more for me than, therapy. No disrespect to therapy, because that's very powerful too. But, like that was just being with myself and humming. Literally just humming was like doing miracle work for me. I was getting into a lot of different healing modalities, shamanism, shamanic practices, reading the work of like Alberto Villoldo, who's a brilliant shaman, but also like a neuroscientist and researcher. And different people like that. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's an incredible, epigenetic scientist and spiritual guru, genius guy. And, I'm like a bunch of other people. And I was getting so inspired and seeing this common thread of the fact that reality is much more open source than we realize. But it involves zooming out into that higher frame operating system. And you do that actually by going inward, paradoxically. So I think as I started putting those practices into my own life, it just started like coming out in the music. And I realized these two parts of myself are not separate. Like the path is to integrate it all. And I'm not a DJ who also is a meditator and mindful. I'm a mindful meditating DJ. And so, I was like, my mission became the fact that this is, I call it spirit technology. These are, energetic practices that we all have built into ourselves. Anyone can hum, and it doesn't need to be musical or sound great. It's just about creating that vibration. And that's what mantras, Om, is really just humming. So once I kind of connected all those dots, it just made sense to start putting it into the music. And, one day I kind of just had one of those divine download moments, and I was like, started singing the melody to my first Healing House song, Om Mani Padme Hum. And next thing you know, I had a song, and a couple of weeks later it was out, and things started shifting a lot.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's crazy. It's like the synchronicities are a resonance of their own, right? And you put something out there and it comes right back, and it's a beautiful thing. In fact, that's probably one of my favorite things about your music is that you use mantra. I mean, let's be real here for a minute. Traditionally, this whole creative thing that you have going on, this ability to go inside yourself deeper and then come from your heart, from the heart of hearts, from the depths of your soul, and be able to express these things in addition to all the ancient wisdom that's been passed down. Traditionally, that was always done by men. The men were the yogis that sat in the forest and meditated and brought these gifts to us. But then the women kind of came in and took it over and ran with it, with that creative energy, and have been here and now spreading it. And so just, for me as a Kundalini yoga teacher, I love mantra. I've always been accused of being a little bit too woo-woo, but I'm also a doctor. So I'm kind of like you in that sense where I want the science, but I love going as deep as I can, asking the deepest questions. And I love the power of mantra. And I've been known to sit and chant for 49 minutes and do long stuff. And it does bring you to a different place. So when you're creating your music and you're using the solfeggio frequencies, which each one, is a hertz that is for a specific purpose, then how do you determine which mantra that you want to bring into it? Is it just something that just innately comes from within, or how are you guided?
Yeah, it's funny because I want to put as much heart into it with as little mind, if that makes sense. So I really wait for things to come to me and just speak to me. I like to listen to the universe and allow it to come to me. And, it's always been like that even before I was working with mantras or specific frequencies, just music in general. It's like the magic happens beyond the rational mind. That's why, like music therapy is one of the most, it's more powerful than almost any drug for dementia patients, because it's activating these neural networks outside of linear function. It's like water. It like gets into everything and connects everything. And it's just so like humblingly powerful. And so who am I to stand in the way and try to assert my small mind thoughts on it, So I really just wait until the pieces connect, but I'm always kind of learning, I love to read. And so I'm always reading like the works of, sages and teachers. And so different mantras come to me in those ways. And when something resonates, I just kind of just start like reflecting on the meaning of the mantra and maybe using it in my own practice. And like the way that it feels good for me to chant it, whatever melodies come, I tend to like build a song around it. I tend to be a dancey kind of guy who likes to dance around and move. So like they come out in this energetic form that, has become Healing House.
When I'm sitting with myself and my thoughts and I'm kind of tapping into that field, like I'm holding space for my own growth where I can direct my mind, and I have an intention, because, an intention or a goal, whatever you want to call it, it's like we all, whether it's something that I'm looking to overcome or whether it's something I'm looking to manifest, I create that intention at the start of my day. And then I sit with it and then I see what comes. So that's really beautiful way that you are able to pretty much do the same. You just sit with the frequencies and the sounds and the vibrations and the music.
Yeah.
And then you allow it to flow through you. I love that.
Yeah. I see, the work that I do as being a channel, and it's like that concept of getting out of your own way is like when you get outside of yourself, that's when God works their magic. The universe works its magic by flowing through you as an open channel.
Yeah. What I love about seeing all of your different Instagram posts and getting to know you better through your posts, there are a lot of your followers that are sending videos of themselves dancing freely, just in their own space, to all of your music. And I think just that alone is so powerful, that you have the ability to share your music. And as someone who loves dance and music, I understand, because it's just this moment where you can just free yourself. And so I find that incredibly fascinating. And Lisa and I...
I'm waiting on your guys' dance video.
Listen, we promise... We talked about it. We were going to surprise you, but now we're making an announcement here. We're
all right, on the record. No turning back now.
On the record, we are going to make a dance video for you.
Absolutely.
So,
besides the dance factor and the music, the other thing that I love is that you are trying to educate people about frequency and even hertz, and just explain what you are doing on a scientific level and the music out there, and just giving, it's a gift. But now you're also doing something beyond what a traditional DJ does, and you're educating, and there's a meaning behind everything that you do. So I love that about you. I really do.
Thank you. That means a lot. It just comes from the heart and a genuine desire to help people how I can, in the way that, my life experience has informed. And I just feel that that's my, my dharma or life path. And it just brings me so much joy, and it's just so awe-inspiring, like the community that's been building. And yeah, it's so fun to see everyone vibing out in their unique way, like manifesting their light code. So to do my part to kind of reframe music and art in this world as a really powerful force for healing and for connectivity, because we live in this information age where things move so fast. And that's actually, I think, can be an extremely beautiful thing in so many ways. But the downside of it is it's easy to kind of get caught up in your head and get disconnected from your body. And maybe, people have a tendency to take themselves a little too seriously online, and, their brand or their vision or their identity. And it's like the most powerful thing we can do is like build community together. And so that's, from very early on, the most inspiring, exciting thing about Healing House for me was the opportunity to build a community that transcends me and hopefully will live well beyond me in the physical form. So, it's just like so fun to do it in this way where it doesn't have to be, I love being able to highlight this idea that spirituality and spiritual evolution and evolution of consciousness can be joyful. It can be fun. It can be silly. Like we can laugh, we can dance. It doesn't have to be like this thing where it's really tight and like, in my opinion, when you tighten up like that, it's actually, you're losing the plot. And there's times for honor and reverence, but those things can be manifested through joy and dance and movement and being together in light, fun ways. That's my take on it. And, I think it's the Bible. It says, like, make joyful noise, it's so there's all these different things through all the different holy scriptures that basically talk about loosen up, like, it's okay. We're all here. No one knows exactly what's going on. Let's figure it out together and just find ways to lighten it for everyone and help each other and spread metta and loving kindness and compassion to the world.
Well, when Lisa and I formally hand over our video, you'll definitely see we'll be loose. We'll be having fun. We'll be having fun. Speaking about your community, you have reached, I think the number is like 386,000 followers now, something like that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
In such a short period of time. So people are catching on to what you're doing.
Yeah, it's been unreal. It's, that's something that's outside of me, and I'm never making content thinking like, how can I net more followers? It's really just putting myself out there, and the more, I put myself out there, like, I've just gotten such a beautiful, supportive, loving response from the community that's there. It just inspires me to want to continue, and it's my life's work now is not just try to make hits, but, like, build this community and just continue to create avenues and platforms that, it doesn't all have to run right through me. Like, there's people in my comments, like, learning from each other and having conversations and, asking questions that other community members are answering. So, like, to me, that's so cool, like, to be a part of that. And I see this as a global movement, really, more than just, a collection of songs or anything like that. So, I'm along for the ride too. Like, I'm here every day. I wake up and I'm, like, so grateful, and I get on my Instagram and there's, like, so many incredible, high vibrational, beautiful people inside and out, doing their thing, being creative, interfacing with Healing House, with me, and challenging me sometimes in cool ways where I have to, like, think about, think a layer deeper on some of the stuff I'm saying, even, or, like, people from, people that grew up in certain cultures that I'm amplifying practices from, and are, like, giving me even more information that allows me to continue to, like, refine it. And, so it's just been so cool, and it's just a consistently inspiring experience, and I never know what's coming next. I'm along for the ride too. So
I like to say there's always two sides to every coin, right? Yeah. And we're all here to share our light and spread the love and have compassion and forgive people for hurting us. But I can also speak from experience. And when you're in a trauma and you're in that response and you are tight and you don't want to dance because you're in fight or flight, you're in protect mode, and then you listen to music that's healing. And I've had people, even in, like, a yoga class, that they're triggered by the actual music that I play. And this is healing music, but they're triggered by it, and it actually brings out their anger or their resentment. And I've had people say, I'm not coming back to this class because you played Ong So Hung for 20 minutes. And I'm like, yeah, I played Ong So Hung for 20 minutes for a reason. But, how do you handle the setbacks and the criticisms when really somebody is on a healing journey, but the healing triggers them on that deeper level, and then they come at you with that, like, because there's always the opposite. Yeah, we're peace, love, and joy. But then what do you do when somebody, flips comes at you?
It's a very interesting and can be a challenging thing that I'm still learning and improving. I had, like, this one post in particular that kind of triggered a lot of the specific corner of the internet, I guess you could say. And, the post still was overwhelmingly love and positivity, but there was definitely, like, people really coming in and trying to be like, who do you think you are? Like, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I'm like, who do I think I'm not? This is my life's work. And I've always felt that as an artist, part of your role is to be that canvas for people to project onto and kind of like work things out in their own way. And you don't really have control over that. And when you start trying to take control over it, that's really the ego. So that's, a lesson for me. We all have an ego. It's part of being a human. The ego is the mind, our animal mind that's trying to protect us from danger. So when you feel like you're in danger, sometimes you're going to have reactions that aren't aligned with your higher self. But the more practice you take in learning to take a breath, and respond from a place of compassion and empathy, and realize that if someone's, hating at you, that means something that about your light is hitting their stuff, as Michael Singer says, their inner stuff, the samskaras, the energetic knots. They're holding things within themselves, and like those are the people I want to reach the most, like the people that are already really well. I mean, of course I want to celebrate and like have incredible experiences with everyone, but like I do truly want to help people that need to be helped. And sometimes like healing can be like an extremely painful process. As I know myself, there were times when I was resistant to certain truths and certain things triggered me. And, it's usually a matter of comparison to a degree, I think. People sort of feel like they should be somewhere else. My mom has this saying, don't should on yourself, like very strong for psychological. But it's like, people do that a lot. They do should on themselves. And so they're like, I noticed a large amount of that hate I was getting was coming from people that are also in music, maybe, and haven't like fully aligned within their own form of artistic expression. And I think seeing someone that is very boldly kind of just saying like, this is me, this is, I love this, and I'm really all about this, and I'm putting my heart fully out there. People are going to take a shot sometimes, and maybe it's coming from a place of reactivity. And also, it's as you start growing as an Instagram or social media account, you realize like you start seeing the behaviors of people in your comment section. And sometimes you see comments and you're like, you literally just wrote and pressed post like as soon as that thought came in your head. Like there was no editing or, so I try not to take those things personally. And like, I've even had a lot of people that started out criticizing what I'm doing, but I could tell that they did have some genuine curiosity. And you just, you realize that they're not attacking you. They're just kind of going through their own process of going back and forth with things. And so if you show up as a compassionate, regulated, centered person, like you lead by example, and you provide them a safe space to go through that process. I've had a lot of haters turn into fans. I've had people that started out challenging me, and now they support me and they post my music on their story or whatever, or, just send me messages saying that they're resonating with the stuff. And so that's like one of the most rewarding parts of this for me. And, having said that, I definitely don't think I'm perfect. I make mistakes and will continue to make mistakes. And that's just like part of the process. But I hope anyone who, is following along with my journey can feel and see that I'm coming from a very pure place, because I've tried the other things, like the other paths to happiness and fulfillment from external sources, from the ego, from partying, from, love in the wrong places, all of those things. And my conclusion was I wasn't going to get to where I knew that I could get through those things. And so, to anyone watching this who is going through that process for themselves, know that I'm coming from a place of love and understanding, because I've been there. And so that I'm so grateful for those experiences, because they've allowed me to, integrate that into what I'm putting out into the world now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Don't let anybody dim your sparkle. Just keep standing in your truth and sharing your light. And...
it was, like internet trolling and stuff it's a crazy thing, because it's like, it's just words on a page, but it's like, if you get a notification and it's like hateful, your body feels like you're getting attacked still. Yeah. So it does trigger your fight or flight. So it takes a little adjusting, but after you do it, it's kind of like, it's like, like I said, I'm grateful. It feels like more ego purification, because it's like, do you actually practice what you preach, or do you take yourself seriously when someone like challenges you? You know what I mean?
That's right. Right.
So,
Right.
so I'm very grateful for it. And, you know, like I said, I've learned from some of those people that started off coming on a little hot maybe, but, you know, like we got to a place of understanding, and I'm like, okay, I see what you're
isn't that what the whole world needs to do? Like, we could
that's the thing. Like,
have peace if everybody just held space for everybody else's growth.
That's the thing. Like, we've tried the other way. We've tried the way of trying to prove that we're right and you're wrong, you know? And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we all want the same things. We all just want to be safe, healthy, happy, have enough abundance to, you know, live a fulfilled life. And it's like, how do we actually get there? Like, the past has happened. Like, that doesn't mean don't right wrongs where we can, but it's like, we're here now. So what are we going to do? You know?
Well, we love what you do, and we are so grateful that you have taken the time to talk to us. And if anybody wants to learn more about you or find you on Instagram or learn more about Healing House, how can they do that?
Yeah, I would love to have anyone listening joining the journey, and it'd be beautiful to have you on this trip with me. You can find me on Instagram at Lincoln Jesser. You can find me on TikTok if you just search Lincoln Jesser. And also my YouTube channel is really growing a lot, which is so awesome. And I don't know the actual like link, but basically if you just search Lincoln Jesser Healing House, you'll probably find my channel. And I'm starting to post a lot more meditation content as well, mindfulness, and some of my, you know, I like to go live on TikTok and Instagram sometimes, and it'll record the kind of conversation. And so I'm going to start posting those on my YouTube as well. So Instagram and YouTube are really, you know, the main places where I'm prevalently posting up all the time. So would love to have you there.
Do you do live events too and things like that?
I do. And, you know, I've been getting a lot of outreach and inquiries really from all over the world for different types of events, you know, but all that to say, there's going to be a lot of live experiences, festival appearances, and I'm also going to be putting on a lot of my own, you know, Healing House events. So it's all coming. It's kind of all being worked out. You know, we're probably planning a year to 2 years out at this point with all the outreach that's coming in. So we're coming everywhere, you know, to a setting.
That's awesome.
It's going to be beautiful. So I can't wait to be with everyone and resonate with you.
We are so happy for you, and we wish you all the success and peace and love and happiness that your heart can hold. Thanks for listening to the C3 podcast. Find past episodes and subscribe on our website, codehealthshop.com, or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, and YouTube.
The Code Girls appreciate discussing conscious living with inspiring guests who make a difference.
Remember, conscious living starts with conscious conversations. Until next time, be intentional, stay inspired, practice gratitude, be well, and feel the drop.